Good evening, everyone. How are you? I think we are live on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you're out there, let me know that you can hear me and see me okay. Hey, Cheryl. Hi, Ann. We got, I'm not sure how to say your name from Canada. Somaya, Pottery, Julie, Bobby. Hey there. So let me know if the sound is okay. I think I've got everything on, but I changed equipment and moved things around, so I need to make sure I see and hear you. Okay, great, great. Hey, Marie. Awesome. Hey, Miss Joni. All right, so tonight we are going to do a Majolica pumpkin using the Colors for Earth pumpkin glaze. It is a matte glaze, so it mimics like a real pumpkin. It's really nice. I've got a piece here to show you, and then we're going to do it on a different piece. Okay, good. Everybody can hear me. All right. Awesome. So we'll give it just a few minutes. You can also put in the comments things that you'd like to see in the future. Last week we did that, and I've got a list going. So if there's something that interests you, a technique, a product, a brush, doesn't matter, let me know what that is. Put that in there, and then I'll go back and add those to my list. So welcome, welcome everyone. Hope you're having a great week. I've been busy, crazy, crazy busy, and leaving next Tuesday. We will not have a broadcast next Tuesday. I will be on the road, headed to South Carolina, to Columbia, South Carolina for a show. Hey, Miss Teresa, both on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. All right. Hey, Miss Linda. Hey, Luann, you made it. Yay. Awesome. Tim, welcome, welcome. Okay, so all of my equipment, like I said, has changed. So I've got to go. I don't have my mouse where I normally do. So let me go overhead. Okay, so CGE 517 is our pumpkin glaze. It is a earthenware glaze. It is not for cone 5, cone 6. Okay, it's 05, 06 glaze. Looks like this in the bottle. Comes in 4 ounces, pints, or gallons. And you can see here, this is just a little, we call these storyboards that I have at the show. So it's got the matte on there, and then I've shaded in the crevices, which it self shades also, but if you just have it on a plain piece, it's just a nice, what I would call a burnt orange matte, and it feels so nice. It's great. What number was it again? It's at the top here, CGE 517. CGE 517. So C means colors for earth, G means glaze, E is element, glaze elements, and then the number. But it is a matte glaze. If you're coming to the South Carolina show and you want to pre-order some of that, be sure and message me on Facebook or email me. I put a thing on my Facebook page today, and actually I have it up here. Let me get over here so that any of you are in the Columbia, South Carolina area, be sure and come over and say hello. All right. All right, let me pull this up. Okay. So it's at the Jamil Temple in Columbia, South Carolina. And the email is there listed. Deadline to Friday because I leave Tuesday morning. It's a 2-day trip over there. And then on the way back, I'm teaching a class, the Whimsical Chickens, at Miss Nell Fair's shop in Northport, Alabama. And I have a thing on my page on that also if you're interested in that class. I think there's still a couple of openings. Welcome, everyone. Hey there. Okay, so now I'm going to show you this. So CGE 517 is the matte glaze. It's a 4-coat glaze. And I'll explain why that is. Okay. Isn't this beautiful? This is a piece that I did at Retreat one year. I don't know that it's, 2012. Okay. But you can see how the crevices are darker because I shaded them with CC 186 burnt sienna mixed. You can mix it with the matte medium or you can mix it with gloss medium. It depends on if you want that a little bit glossy. And that's what I like, is to have that little bit of a contrast between it. Hey, Dawn, thanks for joining. Hey, Miss Robin. Isn't this pretty? This is a huge platter. So the matte glaze is on the pumpkins, of course, and then the other areas are done. You can do them with color strokes, color concentrates. It doesn't matter. You would just need to put clear glaze on those areas. Okay. If you are a cone 5, cone 6, um, that's the only clay body that you work on. You could go to the Color Strokes 618 pumpkin and do the same thing that we're going to do tonight. You could put 3 coats of that on because it's an opaque underglaze. When you're doing, and I'll demonstrate the application also, when you're doing the matte glazes, you need to stay with the grain or the section of each pumpkin. You wouldn't want to crosshatch your strokes across there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. You have that dish, Tim? This is a, oh boy, it just left me. Jim Mold out of Pennsylvania. I believe that's his. I don't have the mold number, but I can get it for you later if you want it. Okay. All right. So you can just put it on plain. You can shade the crevices. You can also design, put your leaves and things on top, which we can do some of that tonight also. Okay. So I wanted to make sure you've seen that. So what I did was I took just a plain plate, and I think you can see I've got crevices. Just sketch this on. You can use any of my pumpkin free, designs. So here's a section, and I've already applied 4 coats to this, but I'm going to show you the application on the actual pumpkin. So what I'm using is the Statler Triplus Fine Liner. It's a water-based marker, and I'm just kind of showing you where each one of those sections are so that it's visible for you and it's easier to see. Okay. No cross hatching. No, Marie. I would not with a matte glaze, because you're going to see, depending on how hot you go, this is, like I said, earthenware. It's going to level itself out. But one of the things that I like to do, and I think you can see, can you see the brush strokes here? I think you can. I can see it on the camera. So what I like to do is put the 4 coats on, and then I take my fingers and I just lightly sand to smooth that out. I know that sounds awful on camera, I'm sure. It's like that chalkboard sound, right? And see, and it just gets, that's going to smooth out that surface. And then, of course, you wouldn't want to blow it on your neighbor if you were sitting beside somebody, but okay. So that's the reason I go 4 coats. I just feel like that way I can smooth that out and I'm good to go after that. All right. So let's grab, here's our pumpkin for tonight. This is a Riverview mold. And Riverview used to come to the shows all the time, but haven't in many years. But it's number 269 is the ghost one, and 265 is the pumpkin one. That's their mold numbers that you can find on their website, riverviewmolds.com. Okay, and let me show you the ghostly one. Isn't he cute? So you can kind of see how large it is based upon my hand. It's a nice little size for candy dish. Really cute together. So my grandkids will end up getting these. Okay, so I've already put 4 coats on the pumpkin, front and back, on this dish. On this guy, because he's white, and as you guys know, that cast pieces, this is a cast piece, the bisque is not always white, okay, depending on whose slip you're using and just because of everything that's happened in the industry. So what I did on this piece was I took a soft fan brush and I applied 2 coats of the Color Stroke white. You could do that even on top of B-Mix. If you make your own piece, you can do that. Hey, Miss Britt, how are you out there? They're really kind of cute. Hey, Ron, thanks for joining. So 2 coats of that on there just to make sure that the bisque is white, okay? If you're okay with the color of your wear, then you don't have to do that, but he needs to be white, I thought, okay? All right, so I've got 4 coats on this guy. I just happen to have another one here that is just bisque. And so what I'm going to do is show you my application of the glaze. All right, so everybody's seen that. It's pretty, it's a gorgeous piece. Like I said, this is Jim Molds out of Pennsylvania. And Ron, you're probably really familiar with them up there. If you have a link, you could post that link in there. That'd be awesome. If not, I'll go back and find it and post it later. All right. Okay. So CGE 517. I've got a small fan brush, and I've already got some in a cup here. Okay. And I'm going to quickly just wipe this down to make sure. Looks like there was a little bit of dust on there. I thought I did that last night, but maybe not. So many things to do to get ready, right? All right, so I'm going to put some in a little cup of that glaze. And like I said earlier, if you weren't on, I prefer to go one direction. You could mask off the eyes and, mask and peel. You could do that to them to leave them white in the background if you wanted. I chose to just paint right over it, but I just want to quickly show you how I apply that glaze. It takes too long for everything to dry, so that's why I went ahead and prepped one so that you didn't have to wait. It's no fun watching paint dry, right? So if you're just coming on, be sure and tell me where you're from, and if there's something that you're interested in future broadcast, let me know what that is, whether it's a product, a technique, or a brush, and I will put it on my list and try to get that for you. Hey, Amanda, how are you? Finally got on when you were live. Sometimes it's hard, isn't it? There's so much going on, and Tuesday nights are not the best night for some people, but we've done them on Tuesdays forever, so I'm going to just stick to it right now. If you were on last week, I was selling some finished pieces. All of those pieces have been shipped as of today. Everything got out. So, and I'll probably do more of those if you're looking for gifts or one-of-a-kind Paula pieces. I'll do them on the weekends from now on. I just wanted to come on last week and kind of give you a feel for what I was doing. Okay, so there's one coat. It's very thin, translucent. If you have a hair in your, as you're brushing on, wait till it dries and then you can just roll that off. Yes, it will fire off, but this being a matte glaze, or if you're applying underglaze, it could leave an indentation there. Okay. So you can put on 2 coats right away, but then I would completely let that dry before I apply my 3rd and 4th coat, because you're going to just lift up what you're putting on. And there's like a hard spot or a hot spot, however you want to refer to it, right there. So I'm going to kind of just dab a little heavier in that area. So this is just a white goat fan brush that we sell. This one happens to be a size 6. We have all different sizes, all the way down to a size 2. So you can find those on the website. Any questions about this glaze, guys? I'm trying to look up and read some of the comments. I'm alone, so it takes me a second to look at Facebook and then look at YouTube and double check everything. So bear with me. Okay. So just try to keep that as smooth as possible. Like I said, when you're done, you can come back and you can finger sand any marks or brush marks or however you want to refer to them off. Okay. Any questions on that? Think we're good? Hey, Pat, I'll see you in, a week? Okay, so I'm going to just set that aside. We're not going to do anything else with that. I just wanted to show you how to do that application, because I know there's a lot of people that maybe you're new and you don't understand how a glaze works. and maybe you're just new to Colors for Earth and you've never used a matte glaze. And boy, the bisque just dries your hands out, so my hands look absolutely awful. I apologize. Okay. Oh, thanks, Sue. Sue put a link on Facebook for gem molds for the pumpkin platter. Um, Sue, if you don't mind, can you pop over to, oh, it probably won't let you. I don't know. It might let you put it on YouTube. I think you have to have permission. I think you have to have permission. So once again, I'm going to just lightly finger sand. And if you do ceramics at all, you've got rough hands and you're able to do this. If not, you could take a paper towel, has a little bit of a texture to it, and you could sand with that if you needed to. Okay. So that just gets rid of all those little imperfections. Okay. All right, I'm going to get rid of that brush. Oh, you did, Ron? Okay, thank you. Ron put a link earlier on Facebook also. Sorry, I missed it. The comments go by so fast, it's hard to catch everything. Thanks for you guys' help. Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys too. I just talked to Miss Mary Coral today. All right, so you can see the ridges or the sections of this guy. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. Also, well, let's do that first. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm going to get out some burnt sienna, CC 186. Shake those colors well. They're thixotropic, so that means they gel and they just they glump together. So you need to shake and agitate or stir, and that will liquefy them. You'll think the bottle is empty and you've still got some in there. Okay. Color concentrates are a translucent or transparent underglaze, so you can see through them. They're not made for opaque coverage. They come in 1 and 2 ounce size. Here's your 1, here's your 2, and then they jump up to a pint size, which is like that pint of the glaze, that size. Now, I want these crevices to be a little bit shiny. It's not going to be a lot because we're not applying a lot of color, right? So I'm going to put the 186 out, and then I'm going to add gloss medium, the CSP 01. So it's our clear glaze if you're on earthenware. If not, it still can be used on your cone 5, cone 6, as long as you're only doing what I call spot glazing or technique specific. Never use this on cone 5, cone 6, B-mix, porcelain as a coverall clear glaze. Only use it for techniques or spot glazing. Hopefully you understand that. That's how I try to refer to it. Hey, Stacy, how are you? Okay, so equal parts. And then I'm going to use the handle of the brush to stir that up. And I do that so that I don't waste my product. There's no sense of putting the brush hairs in there and then rinsing your brush, and then you end up wasting it. I am going to use a fairly large brush tonight. This is the 3/4 inch wash brush that comes in that AS 210 set. These are Kolinsky synthetic sables. So it's Kolinsky hair mixed with synthetic. So it's got natural and man-made. It's a more affordable than Kolinsky, and it's a great brush. Okay. And then here is that. I pulled a new one. The fan brushes look like this, and they're a white goat hair. Like I said, they come in different sizes. And this brush set, we're going to use a couple of different ones out of it, is on sale for $35.20 still. So it's the AS 210. It comes with a wash, an angle, 2 different size rounds, and a liner brush. Okay. All right. We are going to do what's called float or shade. And I've got just this cellulose sponge like you use in the kitchen. And I'm going to try to get I may have to show you this way. So I'm going to dampen my brush just to get those hairs wet, okay, to start with. And then I'm going to drag off both sides a couple of times to remove the excess water. Okay, so every time I clean or go back to the water basin, that's what I'm doing. I like to leave the wording of the brush towards me. That way I know I'm always loading this bottom corner into the color. And let me turn on the palette cam because I know that this may be new to some of you. One second. Palette and overhead. There we go. Okay, so I think you can see that. Let's put it there. All right, so I've done the water. I've drug off each side to get rid of the excess, riding the brush towards me. I'm going to corner load. Okay, so I've got about a third of the brush is what I've got in there. Then I'm going to go to the center of my palette and I'm going to blend, blend, blend really quick. I'm just pressing down right in the same space. And then I'm going to flip it over and color next to color. Now, I don't have very much there, so I'm going to re-corner, blend, 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 same area. Don't jump around, because if you jump around, then you're going to have to, you'll get color all the way across your brush. Okay. So I'm going to start, actually, I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to turn, so the writing's towards me. I'm going to turn it over so that the color is on this side up against that crevice. And I'm just pressing down and allowing that. I'm going to rinse the brush again. Make sure you get all of it out of there, all of the color that you had in there, right into the brush towards you, corner load, work in the same area quickly. And then I'm going to come back, a little bit of pressure to fan that brush out. And you're going to run out. You're going to have to reload. So you can kind of go back and forth. But the glaze is sucking up all the moisture out of that brush. So it's not going to go very far. And that's one of the reasons I'm using a larger brush on this, because I thought, you know, maybe I can get all the way down. But because it's so dry, it's absorbing. So I'm going to start in the middle of the area that I have left and come back and forth across that. You can always go back and add another coat. It's easier to add than to take away. Okay. Are you, Luann is asking, are you pretending you did 4 coats before? Yes. I said that in the beginning. Maybe you weren't here, Luann. So yes, I did 4 coats. So when I was showing how to apply it over here on the pumpkin, I put 2 coats on. You would let it completely dry. I used a fan brush to do that with. And then I would go back and put 2 more. I've already prepped this piece because of drying time. I did the same over here. I just created a pumpkin, just sketched one on over here, and I did 4 coats on those sections. You want to stay within the sections as far as your stroke work when you're applying that, because it is a matte. And then what I told him, Luann, in case there's some of you joining, is I took my finger and I finger sanded down to remove a lot of the brush marks, because the mattes, depending on how hot you go, it may or may not level out. You probably didn't go hot enough if it didn't. Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys either over in South Carolina. It's a long drive, but I enjoy the group. So if you haven't been to that show, you might check it out. So I'm going to wipe out that center there. If ever you feel like you have too much water on your brush before you start, you can just tap it on that cellulose sponge, and that helps. I'm pretty good about knowing if there's too much or too little in there, but if you're just starting, and let's say the water, like, and usually I load twice. Did you see that? So I loaded it twice quickly, and now we can do, let's do this one down here. I'm going to start at an angle because that mouth is there. And just slowly bring it down. And then there's a little bit, believe it or not, on this cheek. It's hard to see it, but it is there. Now, what I want to do though, is I may not want it down here. So I just took a damp brush that was clean and just removed that color from that area. Always keep the writing of the brush towards you. Corner at least a third of however wide your brush is. 1/3 is a good measure. Press down, pull, 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 and follow that crevice. Hey, Miss Lori, you're checking in? I'm still here. Okay, water load, drag off, riding the brush towards you, corner. Keep going in that same spot. You don't want to make tracks all over it because you're going to end up getting the brown all the way across the brush. This would apply to any medium that you're working in, whether it be acrylics, oils, it doesn't matter. You could do the same principle. That's why I like to tell you about the brushes and stuff, because there's a lot of different people that come on to watch that use different things. Now, this center one here, we're going to do both sides of it because it's in the middle. So when you're doing this, my brush is bent down. So the spring, see how it's got the spring in the brush? So if you just press down on the bristles, it's going to do the work for you. You don't need to lay it down so that you're like level with it, because then you're not going to be able to get that spring and bounce back up on the end of it. I can show you that. Let's do another view so that you guys understand. Maybe, let's see how this worked. Oh my gosh, we got 3 views. Holy cow. Actually, I'll just go back to the pumpkin. All right, so you should be able to see the loading, the application, and how far the bristles go down. So load. Hey, Deb. So now remember I said we're going to do the other side of that center one. So I'm going to press down and let the bristles bend and do the work for me. So press down and pull. And I'm just going to go back the other way. Water load, drag off to remove the excess water. Corner load, so you're looking at least a third. Go back to your same spot on your palette. You don't need to make other tracks anywhere else. So press down, pull, 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 and then you can go back the other direction if you need to smooth it out. Does that help and make sense? Because I know a lot of times you guys are asking, about the specific brush stroke. So this is not a brush stroke. It is a float of color is what it is. All right, so we're going to go into the next groove. So color is next to the groove or the section of the pumpkin. And we're pressing down. You can come back over here and just pick up some of your color that's over there if you want. This one, we're going to go up here. And then if you want it across the cheek like I did on the other side, you can do that. Then I'm going to rinse my brush, blot out the moisture, and take away anything that could be brown in another area. Then I have to water load. I'm going to wipe this to make sure this stays clean. Corner. So you've got at least a third of the bristle. Blend, 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 color next to color. So I'm putting it down and working it quickly, flipping it over, color next to color. And like I said, same principle applies. It doesn't matter what medium that you're working in. Press down, pull, 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 and then I'm going to just, in case there's any left on my brush, come back the other direction. Completely rinse that brush so that it is clean. Writing of the brush towards you. Corner load, blend, blend, blend. Flip it over, blend again. And now we're going to do the rest of this. So see why that big brush makes a huge difference? Otherwise, you're going to be there forever. And you can always go back and add a second coat if you feel like it needs to be a little bit darker. Hey, Shannon, Elizabeth, thanks for joining. I'm glad you liked the projects and the work. Thank you. I enjoy teaching, if you haven't noticed, and sharing. Okay, so now let's go over to this guy that's just a plain. This is just a coupe plate. So I've applied the glaze on this with the same fan brush, and I applied it in each section, staying up and down because it is a matte glaze. And remember, this is CGE 517 Pumpkin Harvest. It is a 4-coat glaze for earthenware, not stoneware. Well, let's put it this way. It's been probably 25 years since I tried it on stoneware, and I honestly don't remember. It's going to move too much, and it won't be matte. Don't you find floating color on ceramics requires a bit more water due to the ceramic absorbing the water fast, and it tends to drag, Deb Gardner says on Facebook. Absolutely, because the surface is porous. And if you're working on stoneware and porcelain, it's even more porous, and it just sucks in there. So what I said earlier, if you weren't on, is if you're on cone 5, cone 6, where B-Mix, porcelain, whatever you're working on, you could use the color stroke pumpkin, the CS618, and you could put 3 coats of that on. It's an opaque underglaze, and then do the same shading, just like I'm doing. And then you could put a clear matte over it, or you could do a gloss if you want a gloss. Oh, Linda. Okay, you have to watch the replay. I understand. So water load that square shader. This is a wash brush. And the reason it's called a wash is because the hairs are longer than what a normal square shader would be. See the difference in that? Okay. So that's why it's called a wash. And a lot of watercolor users like the long. It just holds more so that you can achieve a larger area. Writing of the brush towards me, corner load, at least a third, blend, 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 flip it over, blend. Sometimes you need to load twice, especially with this larger brush. Now I'm going to work from the inside out on this one so that my brush does not lay on top of something I've already done. And that may be something you've never heard before, but it sure is nice because then you're not messing up what you've already done. I'm starting, I can feel it starting to run out. See that? So I'm going to rinse all that color out, drag off the excess, corner load, blend, blend, blend. And I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to go up and meet into that I stopped. And I tend to do that even with acrylics. I do it the same way. Water load, writing the brush towards you. That's just a good way to always remember that you've got the color on that corner. If that writing is towards you, you're always going to remember that. It's a good habit to get into. Okay, so I'm going to start up here. I'm starting at a little bit of an angle, but remember, it's just water on the brush, and water is your friend. Starting to, I can tell it was running out. Rinse, drag off, corner load. So I'm using burnt sienna, CC 186, burnt sienna, mixed 50-50 with gloss medium so that I get a little bit of a sheen on those crevices. Okay. All right, so you get the idea as far as the shading and everything. I can go back to just the one camera. I think that Hopefully that helps you a little bit if you're new to shading. All right, so I'm going to rinse, drag off to remove the excess, corner load. And you've got to have enough product in that paint well that you can get that corner in. You don't want to be scooping on the side. You mess up the brush. So make sure you have a generous amount in there. Okay, I'm going to turn this around so that I can go on this side. Color is next to the crevice. And I ran out, which you're going to do, like Deb was saying, the wear. In this case, the glaze is absorbing all the moisture out of the brush. I'm going to start at this end, and I'm going to come back up into that. So you can go back and forth on it if you want. YouTube is being quiet. You guys are quiet over there. Water load, drag off, add your color, at least a third of the brush, blend, blend, blend. And then we're going over here and we're pressing down. So the bristles are about half sprung, meaning halfway, they're bent down halfway. And I always make sure, and you've probably heard me say this before, my water bowl has multiple compartments because I want to keep one that's got really clean water. And then I usually have the others that are dirtier. So what I'm saying is, so this had some of the white from before. This is dirty and this is clean. So I'm going to clean here a couple of times, and then I can go over here and actually load my clean water to start the next stroke if I had one. Now, because this is on just a bisque plate, I could actually come out here and I could shade behind this if I wanted. Let's do that. And we'll show you how the bisque actually absorbs that glaze. You could always do this later too, and you could decide. You may want to do a slip slap mush mush background. You could do brown or some blues for sky, whatever. Blend, blend. So put that color down, press down, let the bristles bend and do the work for you. If you get lazy on the brush, so you can't hold the brush like this, you've got to hold the brush upright and let it bend and do the work for you. And you get a better blend. Okay. Why do you rinse off the brush all the time? Britt is because it's a great question, because the brown bleeds across, and then I'm going to have this big line of brown versus just a faded area. So it should be darker in the crevice, and these are starting to dry here, and then it should fade out to water. Well, if your brown continues to go over and over, and you're going to end up with a brown line and not a graduation of the color. So hopefully that makes sense. Joni asked, do you have a clear glaze? No. Now on this part, Joni, because I'm on a bisque plate, I will clear glaze the top area, but you don't glaze over this because you want it matte. Okay. So let me grab that pumpkin again. So see the difference in this is a matte finish. It's a little glossy in the crevices because I'm doing it just like I'm doing here. And then these have clear glaze. So this has got color concentrates, and we're going to do that on the stem. And then it's got clear glaze mixed into the concentrate. Okay, so Britt said that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, you just don't want that. I mean, you could take a liner and put in a crevice. It will self-antique a little bit when it fires, but I sure like to add that little extra. It just makes it look different than anybody else, for one thing. That way, yours is different, right? Okay, so I don't like the way that little area looks there, so I'm just going to kind of blend. And because we have the medium with it here, guess what? It's going to stay open longer and I can come in and blend and manipulate that, where if it didn't have that, you couldn't do it. It's going to grab to the bisque. If it was just pure concentrate straight from the bottle and you didn't put the medium with it, it's going to grab. So those of you that do acrylics, you can put like floating medium in your brush and then your brown, and you can float color on, or you can just do it with water, is what I usually use, the water for the most part. So just take your time. See how that, of course, it grabs to the bisque worse than it does. See how I'm just kind of going back and forth and working that a little bit. Okay, so that just shades. Now, if you wanted, you could shade the inside here too to make this look more rounded. We can do that. We did on this guy, we shaded both. Now, I can see as this one is drying, I can see a little bit of brown in there, so I'm just taking my damp brush and I'm just kind of blotting that off. All right, so let's go ahead and do on the inside of this one. My puddle of brown is getting slimmer, so I'm having to kind of grab more of it off the side there. So same thing, you can just come in on this side. And if it's a smaller area, you may be able to do 2 sections. So I'm going to go ahead and use what's, I think there's enough in this brush that I can start this one anyway. No sense of rinsing and wasting that product. Rinse. You could use thin and shade. Oh yeah, do they still have that, Tim? I remember that from years and years ago. Didn't we had that for ceramics too, if I remember correctly. Was that I think that was a Duncan product. You're going way back. That's at least 30 years ago that I remember using that. Okay, so what you're seeing is just the water, but you can see that it went away on here. There's a little area that's still a little damp there, but see how that dries and shows you what you've done. It's kind of cool. Mako still makes it. Okay, I didn't know that. And are they making it where it works on ceramic and with acrylics, or just fired product? Because I haven't seen it in many, many years. Okay, so now I'm going to take and do the green areas. I'm going to use 161 and 162 green leaf, laurel green. Same thing's going to apply. We're going to mix them equal parts, even though they will have to have clear glaze put over them, because we're just doing design work. Think of it that way. So you still will need clear over it. Just acrylics, Tim says, for that denim shade. Okay, thank you for the information. And like I said, I work with a lot of plaid acrylics, multi-surface. And I use the floating medium and the blending gel to do different watercolor type techniques. So I'm using the handle of my brush to mix those up, because then I don't waste a lot of product. You see that sponge comes in handy. Always keep one nearby. Okay. All right. So a couple of things. You can do brush strokes on the leaves if you want. And when you wipe out the center of your palette, make sure that you keep it dry. If there's water on there and you're trying to blend your color on it, it's going to cause it to disperse more and it's going to thin it out. Okay, so keep that in mind. I am going to try, this brush also comes in that AS210. This is the 1/2 inch angle brush. That's a Kolinsky synthetic. I'm going to use, I haven't used this one a lot, so I think I'll use it on my leaves. Same thing, water load, drag off the excess moisture, and I'm going to do some leaves. So I want the light to the outside, so I'm going to take the long side of the angle. Well, first I'm going to fully load. And when I say fully load, I mean shampoo that brush, work that in, just like you would work shampoo into your hair. Okay, fully load. And then I'm going to corner the long side, and I'm going to do that blending. Flip it over, blend, blend, blend. Flip it back over. Then all you need to do is corner light, corner dark. Blend, blend. And I do it fast because if you do it slow, it pushes the color across so that you get that, and I'll show you just on a tile here, so that you get it to go all the way across. You get from light to dark. See the difference? Okay. So if we wanted to load that again, flip and blend. So if I wanted to do, I'm going to flip and put the dark to the center, but I can actually do a leaf using the M stroke or wiggle stroke. Everybody refers to them differently. Turn dark to the center. See how I've got the dark meeting up on that center vein? Press and lift, press and lift, press and lift, press and come off to the chisel. So it has a nice chisel to it. You can use these with acrylics also, but I use them. I would say if you're going to buy a set to use with acrylics and buy a set to use with your fired products. So let's talk about that. If you have acrylic in your brush and you accidentally use it on a fired piece and some of that gets onto your piece, yes, it will burn off, but it also can leave a blemish or a little black mark there. So keep that in mind when you're working with different products, non-fired and fired, okay? So if I wanted to come out with the stem and do a leaf, so all I did was pull straight and I lay it to the side and then just come back up on that chisel. So you can go the other direction also for a leaf. So press down this direction and come back up. I'm going to check comments. Oh, so Sandy says they also have Thin and Shade at Bisque Imports, carries it. Okay, that's nice to know. Thank you. But see how you can just add some leaves? Just throw those on there, right? So I'm going to just re-corner both colors and I'm going to blend it. And then depending on where, if I wanted to try to do this in one stroke, I could do that. And I'm going to have the bottom side will be my dark side. So I can press down and I can just give it a little bit of a wiggle and come off. And then I'm just going to come over here and load with what's sitting there on my palette. This one, maybe I want to do more of a M or ripple stroke. And I do each side and I turn it around, and you can go back on other videos where I talk about these strokes even more. But this is called an M stroke. So I'm going to put the dark side to the center so it matches. Press and come up so it's like a C, closed C stroke. And I'm just laying them on top of each other and then looping it out. Let's come just a little bit closer. So I'm going to re-corner the light side, re-corner the dark side. Blend. Okay, dark to the center. Press, press and lift, press and lift, press and come off. I'm just going to grab what is out on the palette. and then start this one, press and lift, press and lift, press and lift. So even if you do them as individual strokes, you can do that. That's not a problem. And then you can come in here. I'm going to just loop in here. I did some curly cues, but I'll go back and add those later. Okay. So that's a couple of different ways that you can do a stroke or fill in that area. Any questions on that? I don't see any. Same thing, dart to the center, press and lift, press and lift, press and lift, press and lift, press and come off. So you can see the brush carries quite a bit of product. Okay, so press and lift. See, it's like a closed C, and you're just overlapping those on top of each other, which is creating the individual veins of the leaf. Okay, isn't that pretty? All right, I'm going to rinse my brush. And I always wipe it, which you can't see. Always wipe it on a paper towel, because then I can tell if all the color is out of it, and I keep rinsing until I don't see any color. Okay. All right. So as far as the stem, I'm going to take the, I think I put it out here. Maybe I didn't. My sumi, yeah, I did. The small sumi brush. You could do it with a square. You could pretty much always wet your brush first, blot out the moisture. Once again, it's just like your hair on your head. You always wet your hair before you put the shampoo on it. Same thing's going to happen on this. Okay, so I'm going to go into the light green. Let's do, that one's drying for a minute. I'm going to come in here. Oh, before I forget, I did post at the top of each thread, YouTube and Facebook, a blog link. I put out there some different Halloween clip art for you, so be sure and the video will be right there also. So check that out. If there's any of them you can use, I'll show you what they are. I just grabbed a few different ones. You can always use them and trace them. They're just some fun, different clip art for you. In case you're doing a big piece and you want different, you can always size them down. So I did one coat of the 161 mix, and I'm going to put that back in my brush. I'm going to tip into the dark green, the 162, and I'm going to pat, 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 sit it down, mush, 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 walk it to the right, walk it to the left. And what that does is just blend it and lets it fade back. So now you've got dark at the base of your stem. Okay. You love watching me do the strokes, Robin says. Well, thank you, Miss Robin. I love to do stroke. I would do brush strokes every day if I could. And that's my favorite stroke. Not necessarily with an angle brush. I usually use a square, but I was trying to show you how you could use the brushes that are in that kit if you're happening to gonna get that, or maybe you bought it at one of the shows, or you bought it when I showed it earlier. Okay, so I'm just gonna block in other words, base coat. And usually when I do it, it ends up being a couple of coats. And I'm pretty much staying with how it grows from top to bottom. And I just keep messing with it till I get a nice even coverage. Now, I did go off onto my pumpkin a little bit, so I'm going to grab my medium sumi brush, wet it, and then I'm just going to push that back off, tell it to get back inside the fence. I don't want it over there. Okay, so with a little bit of that light green in your brush, just barely tipped. The dark green is extremely strong. I got enough for 25 people out here. And I'm just, once again, going to pat, pat, pat. Tap it in. And because you've got the light green on the brush, when I set it down, you see that it basically bleeds that darker green back into the light green on the brush and allows that nice soft transition from one color to the other. And I'm going to tell you, the brushes make a huge difference. I delivered something to a lady the other day in person, and she said, "Holy cow, I couldn't believe the brushes." You get what you pay for. I mean, it really is. If you have a good brush, it's going to do the work for you. Isn't that pretty? Now, if you wanted to do what I call like some tuck and slides, I'm going to put the light in my brush, just a tiny bit of the dark. And let's say I want a groove in here, so I can tuck it down at that little point and just pull it up. I'm just going to grab some of this that's on the palette there, and I'm going to do this. I turn my brush. I'm aiming from this side now, and I'm going to pull it up. And then if you want that on the outside, same thing. 90%, and I just got into my other one. Uh-oh. Rinse, reload, fix. Now you know how to fix it if you do that. Tap it in and just go back over it, because it's going to stay wet long enough that you can manipulate it. And then once again, if you want to do that other side, always aim the brush with the color where you want it to go. Aim it where you want it to go. If you'll remember that, you'll have success. Aim it where you want it to go. I kind of got rid of some of that down there, so I'm fixing it. And I should wait for this to dry instead of fussing with it. I'm going to put a little bit on that top of that stem. Isn't that pretty? And you could do the same thing here. If you wanted, you can water load, drag off, kind of like we were doing the square shader. Just get a tiny bit of that dark green, and let's say you wanted to, it's like floating the color, but just doing it with the Sumi brush. And you can add a couple of little darker lines. Okay. Hey, Elizabeth. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. If you wanted leaves, you know, coming down onto your pumpkin, you can do that also. Let's say we've got this big center here, so let's pretend I'm just using the watercolor. This is the Statler Tri Plus Fine Liner, and I'm just going to kind of show you where a couple of leaves, usually in groupings of 3. I need to add something else there, so I've got 5. Usually odd numbers are better. I am going to go to the square shader. I'm going to use a number 10 Kolinsky. I'm wetting the brush, making sure all those hairs are wet the first time, dragging off the side. Once again, the writing of the brush towards me. And I don't know why I did that, because I wanted to load this guy first. Fully load in the light color, corner in the dark. And the dark is on the side that says the writing. I'm going to use this same area because it's the same color. Blend, blend. Actually, I'm going to load it the second. Usually I do it twice on that first time. I'm going to flip the brush over so the dark is to the center. And I'm going to do that press and lift, and slide off. See, my preference is the square shader, but I wanted to show you how you can use that angle brush if that's all you've got. Okay. And once again, if you have a nice chisel edge, this square shader probably runs, it's Kolinsky, only Kolinsky hair. Gosh, probably 30 some dollars, 25, 30. Flip the brush over, and now I'm going to do one here. Press and lift. So you're just kind of bouncing, bounce it, and you're pivoting. So the light side of the brush always follows the outside. The dark side of the brush is following that inside or center vein. So you pivot as you're going down that area. Hopefully that makes sense. I've got a tutorial on strawberries where we have these kind of leaves, and it's actually a downloadable video. If you're looking to really learn, that would be a great one to purchase. And if you want it, just let's say I just want this one just as a single. I don't need any. Just press, pull, lift, 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 and come back up on that chisel edge. Okay. So we got 3 there, 3 there. We need 1 over here. Let's add 1. I'm just going to grab what's in the center. And let's put it down here. Press and lift. Need the stem on this guy. Okay, we could do the same over here on this if I wanted a glossy leaf on him. So let's just do, he's a little bit, because of the ripples and you've got a lot of texture here, I would probably just do single leaves. Because it's going to be too hard to get down in those crevices and make it look correct. With a little bit of work you could, but so isn't that cute? All right, so while you've got those greens going, you may want to go ahead and pull in your curlicues, tendrils, stems. I like my 3600 number 2 liner, Kolinsky, and I'm just going to add some water to this just to thin it down a little bit and use what's out here on my palette. Okay, I'm going to turn this to the side so you can see. So I'm going to start, press down, lift up as you come into the curve or the curl, and then you can press down and come back up on the point. So that's what a lot of people don't know, that you need to release the pressure and not stay so far down when you go into that turn of the stroke. And I'm going to lightly go back over this because it was not as nice as I wanted it. So press, lift, and then press, and then lift as you come up. We need a vein on this guy. Does that make sense? Robin says those brushes are amazing. Paula, you need a stem on the very top leaf. Did I get it on this one? I think that's one you talk. I just did it. Hey, Kim, thanks for joining. Hey, Catherine. I make it look so easy. Hey, Peggy. I've been doing brush strokes a lot of years, guys. So it's something, practice with just watercolor paint and some pads of paper. So press, lift as you come in the turn, and then come off. But once again, that bisque really grabs. And every bisque is different. I don't even know. This is probably from Bisque Imports many, many years ago. I have a lot of different. Okay, so let's add one down here on this. So we're going to press, lift up, turn, down, lift up, turn, and come off. Okay. A lot of people that are doing the acrylics use the same brush. I use this on my ornaments a lot. So just because it's and this is a fairly inexpensive one. I think this is 11 something. And I don't know why I did that because I probably should add a couple on here. Shouldn't have cleaned up. So this will have a little bit of a gloss to it because of the gloss medium being in there. So lift as you curl and then come off. Okay. So this is the 3600 number 2 liner that I'm using here. I'm going to try to put one over here. Okay. All right. So for the eyes, you can do a couple of things. You can either, let's say if you want to actually put an eye, you know, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Should we put an eye in there? or not? Leave it, paint it all black, or do you want to see some color? We could put purple eyes. That might be fun. What you think? You guys tell me what you want to do. I'm going to just take some of that brown off of there. The teeth could be black. It could be white. Either one. I'm going to get some black out. Or do you want to see it just as a black on the inside? Make eyes. Hey, Linda. Make eyes. Okay, so I'm thinking purple eyes, just for something different, you know, because we all do the same. Oh, no eye. Eyes. I think the eyes have it. Put an eye. Let's do it, because you can just paint black in there by yourself, right? So I'm going to use, this is Color Stroke Purple. So it's an opaque underglaze, since I'm going over the top of a glaze. These will be translucent, the leaves, which is fine, but I want these to be more solid. So that's why I'm going to go with that product. Okay, so 637 bright purple. All right, so you can use the 2 round, comes in that AS 210 set, that Kolinsky synthetic. So let's grab it and we'll just paint. I just noticed that one of them's, of course, this one's a little skinnier, but this one's a little bit smaller. So I'm just taking that marker and just making some dots. That'll keep me in check so that I make sure that I'm similar. Constantly turn your work, make it comfortable for you. Don't try to leave it in one spot and get you all kinked up trying to work on it. So we'll have to do a couple of coats. And then if I want these glossy, I will have to put clear in this area, okay? Yeah, need to let it dry. So teeth, we need to probably want to do white for his tooth. Let's put out some of the white color strokes. This is the 602 white. It's also the same white that I used to apply 2 coats to our ghost. So I've got 2 coats on here just to make sure he's white and not, because our bisque is not always white. Okay, so that's why I did that. And we'll use that same brush. And I'm just going to paint his teeth. Now I can tell you that if you've got the semi brushes, they're a softer hair. They're not going to show as many brush marks, and they're great for blocking in areas. Where this, I can see the strokes. It's okay, and I'm going to come back and add more to it. But if you only have the semi brushes, you would be fine with that. You've been practicing, Peggy says, with stroke and coat often turn out blurry. Are there some tips using this product? Well, stroke and coat is my competitor's product, Peggy. It is a glaze in a squeeze bottle, so you're not going to get the same results that I'm getting with an underglaze, an actual brush stroke. That's the first thing that I would say. There's nothing wrong with that product, but I don't know that it's made particularly for the brush strokes. Okay. Put some pretty eyelashes on it, Robin. I could do that. We can make it a girl. Absolutely. Well, it's going to be hard because there is a bump here. Can you see there's actually an indentation? But I might be able to pull a few off the corner. Sure, I can do that. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. This one pretty much is done. I can add a little more brown around the top of There, I'm going to use the Sumi brush to do that. I'm going to water load it just like I did the square, and I'm going to tip it into the brown, and I'm just going to mush it on. And if you didn't have the big square shader, you could do your sections this way also. Okay, that way make sure it's finished. All right, I'm going to set this aside, and while that's drying, I'm going to do the ghost. You didn't see the bump. Yeah, it does make it, I mean, since these are sectioned, it does make it a little more difficult. But if you were on wood where it was flat, absolutely, I would put eyelashes on it for sure. So once again, here we got eyes on this guy. What Riverview did on their sample, and I used to do a bunch of samples for them, but I did not do these. They just put black in there, and then they've got bats. I should put this up on the blog too. I forgot. They've got bats for like eyebrows, nose. I think that's kind of cute. So let's do the black solid on this one. And you can see that the pumpkin, they put trick or treat on the cheeks, which was kind of cute. So that gives you some other ideas. I think black, and then I probably want to do like a spider web on here too, just for something different. So a way that you can, while I'm letting that purple and white dry, I've base coated this tile. This is just a bisque tile with the 2 coats of white color stroke, and I see a hair. So what I'm trying to do is roll that hair off of there. Okay, so it has 2 coats of the white, and then I used the watercolor marker, the Statler Tri Plus fine liner, to put the web on. So how I did the web, and you've got a web on those pages that I gave you on the blog page. So you're just taking lines and pulling them out. Can you see that? Let me do it with pencil. You probably can't see that. So Tim says he used stroke and coats on a lantern a couple of years ago and had all kinds of brush strokes. Check with Mike Harbridge. He now works for Mako, but it's a glaze in a squeeze bottle. And there may be some that are more opaque than others. So, but that is with 3 coats, I believe. So if you're not using them in that way that the manufacturer suggests, then you're going to get varied results. Okay. Same thing with my products. Same thing. So then all you're going to do is make your little curves. So you're just making like a little U shape, and you can space them out. You can go this way. Doesn't matter which way you go. So that's how you just create a free form spider web. Okay. And then I just took some of the spiders that I had on that clip art for you. I put this down over the pattern, traced it with a pencil, and then I put it where I wanted it. Because some of you ask, well, how do you transfer? So let's say if we want this spider here, let's do one that we haven't done. Okay. So just go over the pencil lines. This is just any cheap tissue paper is better. The cheaper, the better. And just slowly go over that pencil line. And the watercolor marker is going to bleed through on to your piece and transfer your pattern, whatever pattern you want to transfer. Kind of cool. So you can take any of your clip art and do that. Okay. So if we want a spider web, and the watercolor markers, after you've used them a little bit, especially on top of a color, they kind of get dried out. So be careful with that. And my hands are like white from all the colors. So, and I gave you words for Happy Halloween if you want to do that, or you can write treats. So let's do, I'm trying to think of something. I think I want to do a spider web from this side. It won't be very big. You get the idea. My grandkids will like it. That's a nice thing about kids. They don't care what it looks like. Uh, okay. And then if you wanted the Happy Halloween, or if you wanted just to say treats, whatever. So I'm going to show you what I did on this one, which is kind of cool. You like that lettering? Easy to do. Super easy. And I don't think I really showed this that much. Let me grab a drink. I'm parched. So you can take any of my bottles, my 2-ounce or 1-ounce bottles, okay? And this is an older bottle. This is what the new color strokes look like, okay? They come in that bottle. So we have what's called a cap kit accessory packet. Comes with the red piping cap, the syringe, the tip cleaner, and all 4 of the different colors of tips. So you've got different sizes available. Now this one, none of them come with the one I'm going to show you how to do this. This is the fuzzy tip. Do you see the end of this? It's like almost like a Q-tip on the end. And that's how I'm getting that whimsical, fuzzy look. Robin says Miss Finley's going to be a little artist. She is, you guys, she is something else. If you saw that stuff she did, I wished her parents would let me share it, because I taped the video of her doing it, and her commentary is absolutely hilarious. And I did not prompt her to do anything, and she was just going on and telling them everything. This set is, we call it a display studio set. So it's got 2 of the plungers, 6 of the caps, and 12 tips. It's got 12 of each kind, 12 pink, 12 of the yellow, and 12 of the black. If you order this and you say, Paula, I only want black, or I only want yellow, or whatever you want, I can customize that for you. I have no problem doing that. But a lot of people will buy this one because they fit on any of my 1 or 2-ounce bottles. It doesn't matter if it's this bottle, this one, or this one, or the smaller guy. If I can get it out of my little cubby here. Doesn't matter what it is. They're all the same cap, and this fits all of them, which is kind of nice. And you basically turn it into a writer bottle. Stacy, if she's still on here, she uses that on top of her color concentrates. She posted, or maybe I posted. Anyway, she has a little short video showing how she uses it on cone 5, cone 6, where to color in. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this whimsical writing. So it comes different ways. It depends on how many, if you want a cap for each color. This doesn't have the caps in it, so just FYI, but it does come with 6 red caps in it. This one just is the 2. So you start with something like this. You can always clean them and then buy more later. Or I am selling just the caps by themselves now, because Stacy has created a bunch of people that want to do what she's doing. So here's the cap that was on there, just the white. So I took that off, put the red cap on it. It does have a clear closure to keep that from drying out, so you have to remove that. And then all of our tips are what's called lure lock, and they twist on with a half a turn. It's good. Don't keep twisting, because you'll never get them off. So a half a turn, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay? So let's say that we want to do treats now for our words. I already done that one. So you can print out words off of your computer in a Word document and have exact lettering or font that you want. Or you can just sketch it on. So I'm going to go over here to my palette, and I'm going to squeeze that out to start with, because I want to make sure that it's coming out. but you can see how it's got a little bit on that tip. It's just a fuzzy tip. So I'm just going to gently squeeze. This has got a pretty big opening. You do not need to squeeze hard. And I'm just dragging it along the bisque. But see how nice and big that is? I did this years and years ago on, what do we call that? Contemporary, all the contemporary studios, the walk-in paint your own pottery. I did a bunch of stuff for them years ago. So you do it, do your letters just like it is. Now I'm going to put it down though, because then I want to come back and just squeeze and do a dot at the end of that, like on the tips of the strokes. Isn't that fun? Okay, so Deb is saying, responding to Tim, she loves Paula's color concentrates, but stroke and coats with one coat or more transparent and shows brush marks. Correct. Yeah. Just like my concentrates are going to show a brush mark, but I'm using it as a brush stroke also. Yeah. If you want them more opaque, you're going to have to go 2 to 3. Probably 3 is the best. And with my opaque underglazes, this one I'm got, you need to go 3 coats, 4 on reds and sometimes on purples. It's just because reds are thin. But once again, no matter whose product you're using, only apply 2 coats in an area. Let it thoroughly dry, if not completely, before you apply the 3rd and 4th coat. It's kind of fun. So, Robin, I know you do acrylics. You could take these caps and tips and get the piping bottle, just the empty bottles, and put some of your acrylic in there and do the same thing. Okay. You would just have to transfer it because I don't believe, no, these are a smaller, um, they're not as wide as most of the acrylic bottles. But if they happen to have some kind of a tip, you could do the same thing, if any of them have an accessory. When you're done, you want to take that off, put your clear cap back on it, or if you're not going to do any more, take that completely off and then put your normal cap back on there. So do we want to write treats at the bottom before I clean that tip? Should we write treats down here? I think we should. I think we should. So when you look at something, sometimes it's a good idea just to write it out, because right here is your center. You've got 3 letters on one side, 3 on the other. So this is how I figure out freehand spacing, if that's what I'm wanting to do. Okay. I got a hair on there. At least I think that's what yeah. Okay, so here is my center. So let's kind of angle this. I don't like that. Let's do an A like this. How's that? I like that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put that tip back on there. Squeeze out, make sure it hasn't clogged up on me. And I'm on top of white color stroke. So the same product that I'm doing this with is underneath it. It's going to react a little bit different. The tile that I was using was just bisque. So keep that in mind. But you don't want to squeeze too hard because you'll get a puddle, because it's got a pretty good size opening. So I'm going slow because I don't want to also drag and scratch off the white. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay, so then I can come back. I should really let it dry and add. And that cleans up your ends so that you have a nice finish at the end of your lines. Cute. Okay. Any questions on that? You like the looks of that? I think it's kind of cute. Finley will love it. Because I sure don't need any more samples. I'll bring these to South Carolina if you're on here and you're going to the show. I'll get these fired. I'll try to get them in tomorrow or the next day. Okay, so to clean the tip, you want, I put the syringe that comes with it, pull up some water into the syringe, attach that tip, and then flush it clean and pull it up and down until you make sure you get, I know that sounds terrible, but you want to make sure that you're getting all of that out of the tip so it doesn't clog up. Then I kind of swish it and I'm going to blot it on that towel just to kind of clean any residue off of the end of that. Then you have a tip cleaner in there that you can get inside there. This one's clean. If you needed to, you could do that also. It's like got a fuzzy little Q-tip on the end of it. Remember I showed you that? Some of them are green, some blue, but it's got a little Q-tip type thing there that you can get in there if it happens to be a product that's not able to flush it clean with that. Okay. So you can see how the Happy Halloween looks. So you can take any of those patterns, or like I said, just print out anything from your computer and it makes a nice words depending on what you want to do. This is going to have clear glaze all over it. So I'm going to go with the CC101 Cobalt Black. Shake that. Yes, same as the piping paste, Robin. Right. Other than this would just be for, you wouldn't want to put the paste through the fuzzy tip because it's going to stick to it and gob up. You would put like some of your acrylic colors is what you would do. I am going to add the gloss medium, the CSP01 gloss medium to that black. Luann says she will definitely be rewatching the video. Well, thank you. There's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to give you a lot of information. Hopefully you're not bored with it. I try to educate you about the products at the same time as making a project. Before I start the black though, I am going to go back over here and add another coat of that purple real quick so it can be drying. So sometimes you got to work back and forth. Allow that to dry. Turn your piece, make it comfortable. This is the first time I've really painted in almost a month because I fell and I jammed my right thumb and I still can't bend it all the way. So I was really debating whether to do this tonight or not. And I've also injured my right shoulder, so I'm just a mess. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. Oh, I need to probably put the white on there too real quick. Tim says, thank you for the education along with the lesson. Always learn. You know, that's what it's about. What am I going to do? Take the information with me when I go, you know? So I feel like if you succeed, I succeed. I really, truly believe that. If you're able to create and sell your work or whatever you do with it, give it as gifts and everybody has joy with it, then I succeed also. I've done something right if it works for you. Thank you, Miss Deb. Teresa Shipley, if you're on there, I want to know what you think when you get your pieces, or any of you guys that bought them last week. And I'll sell some more. I've got a whole storage unit full. Thank you, Peggy. I hope I recover too. It's just I can't bend. It's hard to bend in. You know, like this one I can bend in. I can't bend this one because I jammed these two fingers. And a family member that's a nurse said, have one of your boys yank on your thumb and pull it out. And I asked both of them, and they said, oh, no, we're going to beep that word out because that's your money arm. And if we screw up your thumb, you'll be mad at us. So, yeah. So they said no. So I'm just going to have to work on it. Robin says, I thought you'd be packing everything for South Carolina. Well, I will. That I've still got to make trophies. I give out trophies. And those of you that don't, I shouldn't probably say, I judge the South Carolina show also. And I give away a Colors for Earth trophy if you use only Colors for Earth on your project. And it goes into that category also, just like any of the others. And then I give out a Colors for Earth trophy. And I do a brushstroke trophy also. We don't have a lot of brushstroke entries. It's been a few years, but I have them. I got 2 of them made. So, okay. So now I'm going to take the black, and we decided we're going to just fill in this guy solid. Of course, black's going to cover. I could use the color stroke black, which would be more solid, right? But I wanted this for the fine lines. Does anybody else have problems with gnats right now? All of a sudden, the last month, they say it's because of plants, but I don't know. I just I've had 2 or 3 of them that are, I just saw one. He's gone. You stopped too long, Mr. Gnat. So I'm using that 2 round that comes in that AS 210 set to just apply. You could use your Sumi brushes also. Maybe I'll do that for the second coat. This is just to block in the area. Constantly turn your piece, make it easy for you to work on. Now, I'm not sure this brush can get in the tiny crevice, so I'm going to start back here. Press down, let the brush bend and do the work for you. Oops, sorry. So after I get back so next week I'll be at the show. Actually, we probably won't do 2 weeks because I am driving the last leg of my trip on the following Tuesday also. And unless I get home early or something, I will be exhausted and probably won't do a live that night. Joni, you broke your finger or thumb? Oh, yeah, that'll stop you from pouring for sure. I can say I don't think I've ever broken anything. I shouldn't say that out loud, right? Jinx myself. So I switched to the 3600 number 2 liner just to get that fine point. Remember, this is just on white opaque underglaze, so it will require a clear glaze over it. And then we've got these little bats, and I just transferred those on, so I'm going to just fill those in. The marker fires away. If you're working on cone 5, cone 6, BMX, stoneware, porcelain, you can use a Sharpie marker to transfer your pattern. Don't use it on your earthenware. Well, you can if you're doing a true Majolica. It's when you start trapping the marker between glaze and bisque that you end up with the problem. It fires away, but it also can repel your color, unfortunately. So go with the watercolor. You're better off. I can honestly say I don't think I've painted a bat before. Oh, you broke your foot, Joni. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Wow. Try not to do anything more than you have to. Yeah, well, that's what I was just talking to people at the show, and I said, "Is there going to be anybody that can help me because it's a smaller show, and I don't take a trailer, and I put my shelves up on top of my SUV, and I have to have help to get them down because there's no way I can lift those down with my thumb like this." So they said that they would find somebody to help me. Otherwise, my booth is going to be even smaller than normal. Patricia, do you got help for me? Do you got any family members, young kids, or anything that can help me unload? I'm going to try to unload on Wednesday afternoon. I'm waiting to hear back so that I can have a little more time. If I can get it unloaded and in there, it'll make it a little bit easier. I won't have to stress my thumb and shoulder and everything. Isn't that cute? Kind of, you could do them all different colors. You could put regular, eyelashes and stuff on them. I just thought it was on their sample and it was fun looking, different. I hadn't seen anything like it. So you shouldn't need more than 2 coats of the black. And I always paint larger than my pattern. I don't know about you guys, but keep that in mind. It's just you, Patricia. Ah, okay. Teresa Berger, hello, good evening. You learned the value of gloves moving glass. Yeah, Teresa cut her finger the other night. She was moving glass and ended up with 3 stitches. I might put my gloves in. That'll probably help me hold on to things. I think I've got a pair in the car. Okay, so on your spider web, just create your lines. And if you're on glass or on ceramic, you could use the piping paste to do your spider web. On ceramics, you could use our black clay dimensions, and it would be a raised area. See, I didn't follow my line there, which that's okay. And see how I constantly turn my piece. If you need to add a little bit of water to that black and thin it down, do so if it's not moving for you. Okay, so I'm just going to loop. The ghost is cute. I'm glad you like it. Like I said, these are Riverview molds. And I forgot to put the flyer up on the blog post, but I will add it tonight. But you can get those from them, or you could just create your own out of just clay. You could always do a screenshot of the piece and print it out and create a pattern. He's cute. Okay, rinse. Let's go back real quick and add another coat of black. See how it turns out. Any questions about what I've done tonight, or you guys have asked some good questions. You're welcome, Bobby. She said, thank you for taking the time to teach new techniques. It does. You see something that somebody does and it creates another idea. And like I said, if you succeed and enjoy it, then I succeed. I'm glad you like it. You want one of the players to do. You mean plates? Is that what you meant? Platters to do. Oh, the big one that I showed you in the beginning? I I would get a hold of, Renee Gaiman. Renee may still have that mold, and she's right there with Roger at Gym. So I bet you she would bisque one and send it to you if she has the mold. I probably have the mold somewhere, but I do not. I haven't cast in probably 8 years. I'm too busy, and I don't even know where that mold is right now, to tell you the truth. You're welcome, Britt. I'm glad you enjoy it. Well, hopefully this was fun for you. I know it's kind of simple, but if it's a new technique that you're not familiar with, now you know how to do it. So Majolica is what I did on the pumpkin over there on my side. Majolica is, or Majolica, it can be referred to, is an Italian term where you paint on top of a glaze that doesn't move. I should have said that in the beginning, and I didn't. I used to work for Hobby Colorovia, which was an Italian company, and we did a lot of Majolica back then. That was who I worked for before I bought Colors for Earth. I got to go to Italy for a week, all expenses paid. You can put a white common stroke on top of the black. Absolutely, I can. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, and I'll use the color stroke white so that it's more opaque to give a little highlight on the eyes here. So I will clear glaze 2 coats on the ghost, and then I will only put clear glaze over the stem on the pumpkin, and probably on the eyes of the pumpkin. Any questions? Or like I said, anything you want to see in the future? It's hard because, so many things I feel like I'm repeating, but we have so many new people, or it's something that I did, 10, 15 years ago. I'm not sure I like my bats, but they're okay. Whatever. And another thing you could do, me, I could keep going and going. You could come in here and with a steady hand create almost like a shadow. Kind of makes that stand out a little more. Not sure I should have done this late at night. My hands are usually not as steady. I don't know about you guys. I'm better first thing in the morning. Not too bad. Let's do the whole thing there. And then we probably should do that. All right, stop, Paula. Stop. Can you please do a quick review of the products that you used tonight? Absolutely. So Peggy, I used the CGE 517, which is the Pumpkin Harvest, the matte glaze, to base coat the pumpkin. 4 coats. On the ghost, I put 2 coats of the CS 602 white. It's an opaque underglaze because I wasn't sure if my bisque would be white enough, and a ghost needs to be white, right? Okay. Then I came in with a couple of greens, 161 green leaf, 162 laurel, and I mixed those equal parts with the gloss medium CSP01, which is my clear glaze for earthenware, but you can use it on your stoneware and porcelain as long as you're just doing spot glazing or decorating. Never use it over the top of an entire piece on cone 5, cone 6. It will craze. Okay. For the writing on the treats, the Happy Halloween, I use the CS618 pumpkin, and I use the cap accessory kit. So I took one of the red caps, or you could use, if you have the piping bottles, you can use those too. But the yellow fuzzy tip does not come in this set. It has to be bought separately. If you just type in fuzzy in the search bar, you'll find it. Okay, so that's the cap kit 01. It's the cap kit accessory kit. And that was the orange. I used the CC101 cobalt black mixed with the 01 gloss medium to do my eyes, bats, and the spider web, so that it would be a glossy. Well, on this it won't matter because we're going to clear glaze over it. The purple that I used is CS637 bright purple, and it's an opaque underglaze, and that's the reason I used it, because I needed something on here that's going to be solid. So you can interchange, and I'm switched to the Sumi brush. Do you see the difference in the application? It's soft and smooth. It doesn't show as many of the brush marks. And I have a new gnat that's back, my friend. Now, I can tell you that I went outside the line where I didn't want to be. I made that too large, so I got a clean brush and water, blotted the water so it didn't have too much water, and I'm just pushing that back where it goes. But see the difference in the application? It's the softer the hair, less brush marks you're going to see. And the Sumi brushes are a black squirrel hair. Okay, there's a set of 4. You can buy them individually. I'm using the medium one right now. They currently say Colors for Earth. This one says Paula McCoy because it's one of my old ones before I bought the company. Okay, so same thing with the black. The other, oh, I don't have a, do I have a mister here? Let me see if I've got, I don't know if this one will, I don't think that'll work. I forgot to bring a mister. There's a little trick. Yeah, I don't have one that's going to work. If you take a fine mister and you mist your piece, I'm looking around to see if I've got one back here. No, because I was at the show and all my class stuff is still in my, it's still packed away. So if you take a fine mister, the kind that you pump on the top, not the ones that you grab a hold of the handle and pump, and you mist, it will show you whether you're solid or you're transparent. And you'll know if you need to put another coat on. I've showed that in a couple of different videos, more than a couple, but that's a good way to figure it out if you need to tell if you're solid or not. So I'm just going to add another coat of white. So these will be a matte finish unless I put the painted areas that I'm doing on top of this glaze. And you're going to say, you got 4 coats of pumpkin, and now you're putting 3 coats of that underglaze. It's okay. I've actually done Majolica work where I've got 11 coats on a black matte glaze. I did a Russian toll design one year at retreat, and we just kept layering and layering and layering, and it works. The key, guys, to anything you're doing, I don't care whose product you're using, multiple thin coats is better than one thick, heavy coat. Maybe some pink cheeks on his smile. Well, since this is orange, remember, it's orange. I'm not sure that would look, because it's going to turn out like this, remember, Dad? I mean, you could probably stipple. I think I'm going to leave it, though. But I probably need to at least shade the nose, because it needs something in there. And I probably should have done that on the mouth before I actually painted the teeth. Let me grab my sponge and wipe this out. Let's think about this. We can sumi shade it with the sumi brush. I'm going to water load, drag off to a point. I'm going to tip in the black, and I'm going to tuck that black in and sit it down, mush, 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 walk it to the right, walk it to the left, and then you can kind of pull it. And then I'm going to rinse the brush thoroughly, drag it off to a point, tip into that color again, tuck that color in, sit it down, mush, 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 walk it to the right, walk it to the left. And I'm just going to come in here and just do a black shading instead of a solid black. I may or may not like it, but it'll be different. Your hand is a lot steadier than mine. Well, thank you. I don't know, right now with the thumb thing, I'm surprised I was able to do that. Okay, so I'm just kind of bouncing it. You could do it with a square shader if you wanted. Water load, drag off to a point, tip into that color. And this is what we call sumi shade. I developed this many, many years ago, probably 30 plus years ago, because I had a lot of seniors that didn't have a lot of money to buy a whole bunch of different brushes, and I wanted them to get the most out of a brush. So you can base coat with these, you can float color with them. They're not really made for brush strokes. That's the only thing they're not really made for. But you can see how I can shade with them. And so it made it a more affordable for them to do the projects. So I'm just letting it fade out to the water on the brush constantly. The larger the brush you can use in the area to do this, the better it's going to look. And the reason I'm using the sumi is because I've got these little tiny areas that you're not going to be able to get a square shader down in there because of the crevices. And this you can tuck in the corners. So it just makes it's another option for you if you have a hard time with the square shader. It's just another option. It kind of looks dirty now, but he's supposed to be spooky, right? So I'm just going back and softening some of the edges if I feel like it was too strong. Here I got up on the edge, so I'm just going to swish it back and forth, tell it to get back down there where it's supposed to be. I don't want it up there. Okay. You like the shading? Thank you. Pink cheeks on the ghost. Oh, okay, okay. You want me to float like some... How about we do this? We could float orange on it instead to keep with the same color. You could put... But there is a crease here, okay? So we could take the orange and float it down there. And I think that would be kind of cool. What do you think about that? Let's try that. I'm not sure I want to introduce pink to it, but you could, Deb, if you wanted to. But I'm going to use orange just to keep with my theme. So I'm going to go back to that square shader, the number 10, water load, corner in the orange, at least a third. And I usually do it twice, remember. So, oh yeah, look at that. Good idea. Thank you. Cute. And I've got a hair right there. So here's a lesson. I've got a hair that's in the white and I can see it. And I have to let that orange dry. It'll burn off, but you know what it's going to do? It's going to leave a white line right where that in the middle of my orange. So we've got to get it off of there. And then I'll have to go back and redo. You know, this is why we do this. That's why it's live. You learn more, right? And it's still not coming out. I can see it over here. There it is. See it? Okay, it's gone. Now we can go back and mend that. There we go. He's cute. How's that, Deb? Orange will work, she says. Okay, thank you. And I'm just softening. If I don't want that really strong, you could do it with the sumi brush too. You could just sumi shade down in there. So I'm just softening that edge so it's not real strong. Okay. Oh, the white highlight in the eye. So I'm going to go back to the white opaque. I think I went over all the products. And I'll just put a little comma stroke. Look at him. Isn't he cute? Thank you, Peggy. Hey, Kim Walker. You're late, but you're here. You're funny. Well, you missed it. You'll have to go back and watch. Now, I need to go back in and shade the black. I know that looks messy, but I think it looks even worse in person, but I think it'll be fine whenever it's fired out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the black up here on the eyes too real quick before I finish those eyes. And I've got a little too much water in my brush, so I'm going to tap on that cellulose sponge just to remove a little excess. And I should have shaded this before I even started with the purple and everything, but it was an afterthought. So at least you know you can do it. I'm glad you guys like this. This is a lot simpler than my norm, in case you haven't noticed. But look, I ended up making it the Paula way and more detailed, and I wouldn't say complicated, but more than a lot of people would probably go to. But if you're at shows and you're trying to sell things, you want to be different than, I've got a hair in here I'm trying to get out, different than other people, and you want to do something that's makes you stand out. And just with a little bit, if you were doing multiples of these, I can't get that out of there, it would be a way, you know, that you're different than your neighbor, you know. So I'm just taking water and just pushing that color back if it's out from where I want it. I thought a little candy corn on each side of the tree. Oh, Robin, you just don't want me to stop, do you? Actually, I had a, I don't know if anybody remembers these. There was somebody that made like a V-shaped wall pocket. I did it at a retreat one year in red, white, and blue for 4th of July. And I also started, and I found it the other day, and then I couldn't find it tonight. And I sectioned it to look like candy corn. And too much water, blot. Candy corn. You'd have to remind me which colors go which way. Is the orange at the bottom or the yellow at the bottom. I don't eat candy corn, so I don't know which way it goes. You know, which section. Because the white's in the middle, if I remember right. I bet Leanne knows. Okay, I know that looks a little spooky, but I think he's kind of cute. He's supposed to be spooky, right? As long as he doesn't scare the kids. Okay, let me real quick. I'm going to add one more. Remember, we're on top of a color, so I want this to be solid. I may have to dry it. I've got, yes, I do have a fan. Let me dry this real quick. Let's see if I can get it kind of dry. So what do you think? You think these are cute? You think you would use any of this to do some pieces? I think it gives you some options, right? For sure. Thank you, Robin. I really don't want to do a heat gun because you're on a glaze and you start crystallizing that glaze. So um, I wouldn't do that. Candy corn is from the bottom, yellow, orange, white. Oh, white at the top. Okay, see, I told you I don't eat it, so I don't pay much attention. Yellow, orange, white. I should write that down. So at the bottom is yellow, orange, white. Got it. I drew me a picture. And where do you say that goes? Oh, you think on the side of the treats? I guess then I'd have to get another color out, Robin. All right, real quick. Um, like that. Is that what you're thinking? Now, if I can get it even, I think this one's bigger. Nice thing about that white underglaze, I can just sand it off with these rough fingers. Yellow at the bottom. So we need 23 CC 123 sunflowers. What about the spider on the ghost? Okay, I need to put a spider on there, don't I? I do. All right, let me. And I'm going to mix the gloss medium with it. Don't have to, but. And I am going to mix it with my brush because I'm going to use it. So yellow at the bottom, she says. What about the spider on the ghost? Yes, I agree with Catherine Spider. Okay, I'll put that on there. Let me get a coat of this on there. See, you guys are just building it with me. I usually have some kind of a plan, but when I start, I just let it talk to me and do whatever it says. Thanks, Robin. Robin said I don't have to. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm already here. Why not, right? All right, so let's do. We probably need like this spider up here. Look like he's going away from it. So I'm just tracing over the tissue paper pattern. Double check. Pretty much got a little bit of it there. That's all I need. You don't have to have a solid line. As long as you've got something that you can see. Go back to that black. Probably should have put it. There's too much. I'm trying to balance it out, so I'm going to make him go this way. I know I should have probably had him hanging, but there's too much already at the bottom. of the piece. So that's why he gets to go up top. So I'm looking at the overall balance of the project. Hopefully that helps you understand when you're adding things on. I've given you some ideas, Leanne. Awesome. Well, you're so creative with what you do, so I'm glad that I could help. Can't wait to see what you do with it. I know this only had straight legs, but I feel like he needs to have a little. Yeah, I think he really needed that. Okay, guys. And then we'll just bring that up there. Um, now we need orange next. If I find that piece that I was talking about, it was like a V-shaped, um, kind of like a pillow vase, but it's a wall pocket. And I'd sectioned it off like this, and I've already got it painted, almost painted. I don't have it detailed, so I need to find that. We don't have to paint the white on there because it's already white. And again, this is Riverview Molds. And those that came in late, we also did just a plain, well, that's drying for a second, a plain plate. This is just a coupe plate that I drew a pumpkin on. I still applied the 4 coats of the CGE 517 Pumpkin Harvest Glaze with a small fan brush. Each section I did individually. And then I finger sanded down to get rid of any brush marks. And then we shaded the crevices the same way as we did on here. So if you didn't have the mold like this, you could still do it like this. You could put eyes and everything on it. I mean, same way with acrylics. I mean, there's so much that you can do with it. Leaves are done the same on each. The stems are the same. It just gives you some other ideas. So Riverview mold for the Ghost is number 269, and the pumpkin is number 265. This flyer was so dark I couldn't read it. And then I gave you clip art out there on the blog. So these are just some things, shows you the web. A lot of times it's just having something in front of you so that you can imagine what it's going to look like, right? All right, I'm going to put a coat of yellow on here real quick, another one, and then I'm going to outline it, and we're done. And I'll probably just sign on the back of these. So don't forget, tell me what you'd like to see. Brushes, techniques, products, whatever it is. I'll put it on my list. I'm going to do, coming up in a month or so, I'll do a Christmas tree. I want to show you how to layer. We have 2 different, excuse me, 2 different green Christmas tree colors that you can layer them and get different effects. My spider needs 1 more leg. Oh, you're right. How did I do that? You guys are on it tonight, man. All right, there you go, Miss Britt. Thank you. Both some on Facebook were saying the same thing, Britt. Thank you, Cheryl. The ghost is cute. Your grandkids will love it. I hope they do. Finley will like it no matter what, right? Abby is 14. She's a teenager now, so she's in high school. Holy cow. Excuse me. And teenagers, they don't need grandma anymore. Okay. And then just add your black to your eyes and the white. Um, and I didn't want to do that. I may have to mix up some more black. So, I think I want it coming from this side. I don't do a lot of Halloween stuff. When the kids were little, I did. Okay, so I got a tickle in my throat. I don't think I'm going to have to put them on this side. I think it will look crazy or like cross-eyed if I do it the other. It's absorbing into that glaze really fast. Oh, and then Robin said I needed eyelashes. And I'm going to have to get out a dot of black. And what do I get? I get more than a dot. Of course. All right. We're going to make it, I guess it could be a boy with eyelashes. So I'm thinning that black down with just adding a little bit of water. And let's just give that a little bit of an outline. And when we do that, we'll come over here and just add a couple of lashes. Excuse me. It's hot underneath all these lights. That's hard to do, Robin, on that curve, let me tell you. All right, I think I'm going to put a line at the bottom just because I can. And I feel like it needs it. Just going to kind of accent that area. All right, let's throw a white highlight. You can do a dot if you wanted. You could use the handle of the brush. Ta-da! It's done. I'm done. No more. All right. I hope you like these. You could keep going. I mean, there's all kinds of things. You could trim it in purple or, just leave it. We're going to leave it simple. Paula's done enough to it already, right? All right, let me go back. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Stick with me. I don't know how many of you stayed on, but it'll be there for replay. Don't forget, if you want the clip art, go out to the blog post. You'll see the pumpkin dish. Just go to ceramic and you'll find it. Okay. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to get off here because I need to go eat something. I haven't had dinner yet. All right. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Not next week because I'll be driving to South Carolina show. The following Tuesday, I'll be driving home from the show because I'm teaching in Alabama. I didn't say that, I don't think. Northport, Alabama, Crafters, Ceramics and Crafts Nail Fair. It's on my Facebook page. And she is closing her shop the end of the year. So this will be my last opportunity to teach at her shop. I've been teaching out there for probably, I don't know, 13 years maybe or more. So if you haven't seen the project, it's the Whimsical Chickens. Come and join me. It's on a Monday after the show. from 10 to 2, and it's on my Facebook page. I don't remember the exact date. Okay. All right, guys, I'm signing off. Take care. Love you guys. And make those brushes dance. Okay. I want to see what you create. Good night.